Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th episode of your new favorite internet show, Visioncon Live. I'm your host, Zach Wilson, but you didn't come here to see me today. You came to see the woman of the hour. She voices Mahoro from My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, Chise from Ancient Magus Bride, and Iris from Ace Attorney, just to name a few. She's one of the brightest rising stars in the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one, the only, Dani Chambers. Dani, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Dani, I am doing just fine. Dandy as candy. Ooh, that kind of rhyme.
Aw, that's cute.
Dani, before we begin, I just want to let you know and everybody at home know that when I first messaged you, I didn't lie necessarily. I said I was a fan of, I know I probably could have started that better. I was a fan of a bunch of your characters, including Chise, which a lot of you know, the main character from Ancient Magus Bride. Now, that was not a lie. However, I will admit I had never finished the series until recently because I wanted to be a man of my word.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, Dani. Oh my God, Dani. Oh, it was so good. But we'll get to that in a minute. But first,
Okay.
Dani, I just wanted to start out by asking you, how did we get here? Now, you are on the fast track to be incredibly successful. You know, you're coming from kind of lesser known roles to being one of the main characters of the newest movie of My Hero Academia, one of the most popular animes around right now. So I just got to ask, was this kind of always the plan? Like going through life, was this kind of where you saw yourself, or later in life did you kind of decide to be a voice actress?
To be honest, it wasn't the plan. I do theater, mostly. So I do a lot of community theater around my town, and I was like, I guess I could try voice acting. I love anime. I love animation. Because I used to not necessarily professionally dub, but like when I was a kid, I would always voice act the characters of the games I would play. So it's like, oh, that would seem to be kind of cool to do. So I jumped in, and everything just kind of happened. So I'm like, this is cool. I like everything that's happening. It's just real fast, but I like it.
So, okay, so you were in theater, so you obviously wanted to do something in the entertainment industry. So did you act for a while, or was it just straight into voice acting?
I've been acting since I was 6 years old on stage,
Okay.
and I started voice acting in 2013, 14-ish. And I took a voice acting workshop, and that kind of helped spark that I guess goal in me to kind of go for it. So it took a while. Took about 3 or 4 years before I actually got into like the anime scene. And it was a lot of work, a lot of practicing, auditioning for other projects and things like that. So it was a lot of fun, but I learned a lot, but it was hard. It was so hard.
Now, was there something about, have you always been a big fan of anime growing up, or was it something that you became a fan of once you started actually working in the industry?
I was a fan of anime growing up. My first anime, I think, was Sailor Moon, and then actually was part of this traveling drama team. Yes, Sailor Jupiter is my favorite.
Fair.
um, I was in this traveling drama group in high school, and my friends showed me this one anime called Inuyasha, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. He looks adorable with his wolfy ears." And I was like, "This is not what I signed up for," but I loved it. The storytelling was great. The characters are great. Is it Kagome? She's adorable, and I'm like, "Yes, yes." So, but yeah, and then ever since then, I was like, "What's kind of new? What can I do? What can I watch?" So it's just I haven't been like crazy into a lot of shows. There's shows that I watch. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. I'll keep that. I'll be a fan of that, obsess over that for a few weeks, and then like do my life, and then see another anime, obsess over that for a few weeks. So it's this cycle at the moment. But no, I still kind of watch more animes more often now.
So what was the first big anime that you think that you kind of got your career started? Like, you know, you've obviously, when you're starting out voice acting, you know, you kind of just audition for literally anything that will have you. But kind of what was the first big, in your opinion, one of the first big roles that you scored?
Uh, Probably Chise, because um Yeah, that because I hadn't heard of it, but people were saying this is a great show. So apparently it was going to be a hit show over the season, and I'm like, this is really cool. Like, do you mind if I tell the story how I got it?
Go for it.
Okay, so I had already been cast as a supporting character for Tyler Walker's show when he was still directing, and so I was recording in for that, and I think he got sick for a couple weeks. So Kyle Phillips went ahead and assistant directed some of those episodes, and then Kyle asked me afterwards, like, "Hey, are you free for the next 24 weeks?" I'm like, "Yeah." But before he's like, "I want to use you for something." I'm like, "Okay." And my dumb self was thinking, "Oh, he probably needs like consistent Walla or consistent or background characters or just people to do crazy stuff." I was like, "Yeah, I could do that." So I come in and I was like, "My session's like 4 hours long. That's weird for Walla." Again, not even thinking. And so I go in and Kyle's like, "All right, there's a show called Ancient Magus Bride. You're gonna be Chise." I'm like, "Cool. Who and what is a Chise?" So I felt so dumb. I had no idea. But yeah, and I was like, he's like, "Yeah, she's the main character in this show, and I really liked your voice, like working with you, and I think you'd be a good fit." And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Thank you so much." And it was such a blast working on that show. So I think that show specifically, and Chise has such a special place in my heart, in my career, just because not just because it was my first big anime role, but it was my first, like, oh my God, I connected to a character and other people get to hear me do this role. So it was a lot of fun, and it holds a special place in my heart.
Well, see, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, I had watched a couple episodes of the show, way back when, and I remember, not giving it a fair chance, not because the performance wasn't great, but just like the story I didn't stuck around with because initially, and on paper, I think we can all agree, it's this guy, he wears a skull for a face, and the girl is 15, but if you stick with the show, it is by far one of the most beautiful animes I have ever seen, both
God, yes.
message wise and also appearance wise, and just kind of as it goes on, obviously some of those issues it addresses, and just like, and your performance as Chise is so, it really, it's definitely a big hero's kind of character's journey. At first she's this timid kind of protagonist, but then throughout that she gains more self-confidence thanks to the Magus, of course, but also just she really comes to a thing of her own, and I really think that's a testament to you because you breathe life into these characters, and that the fact that you were able to give Chise that much of a dynamic arc, is applaud worthy in and of itself. Now I want to know kind of, so that's kind of your first big role, and then obviously throughout the times you have bigger and bigger roles. Now before we get to My Hero, kind of was the industry a lot nicer to you, and did it come a lot more easily after Ancient Magus Bride, or was it still just as much of a slog to get to where you are today?
Oof. I think it's still much of a slog because you have to keep working. Like, once you book that big role, it's not like, okay, we're gonna pick you for this role all the time. It's like, you still have to practice, you still have to work hard. Mind you, now that, if you play a big role, a lot of people will see you and they're like, "Oh, we would like you to audition for this role." After hearing you in this, I think that comes with it, and I wouldn't say it makes it easier, but it gives an opportunity for more people to hear you, hear your range, see how well you interact with other people in the show, and how good you display emotions, and I think it's somewhat easier to get other stuff, but I think you still have to work hard at it.
So, and you brought up an interesting point that I actually want to expand on. It is hard to get, it's an industry that's hard to get into, period. But, you are definitely, the difference between you and some of the other people we've had on the show is that, these people, household names, they've been doing this for, longer than I've been alive. So, but you are definitely, on the fast track to get there. You're going real quick. You've only done this. Now I say only, but, comparatively to them, what they've done it for 20 to 30 years, you've done it for about a decade now. And already you voice one of the main characters in the latest movie of one of the most popular animes around, recently, My Hero. So kind of how do you, especially in a world where technological advances are like every day we come out with a new one, it's definitely the digital renaissance kind of, how does one permeate and just kind of get into the industry with there's so many competitions lately?
Whew, that is a is a very good question. It's always hard. It's usually I get a lot. Hmm, I get a lot of questions. Sorry, I was trying to get my thoughts. I get a lot of questions about that. Actually, they say, "How do I get into voice acting?" I'm like, "Well, you have to be an actor first. You know, if you've done theater or if you've done film acting, that's a good way to get started. For people who haven't, I tell them you should probably do like community college theater, or if there's like improv classes or theater classes in your city that they do during the summer. Learn that way. Learn the basics of acting." Because voice acting is acting, and a lot of people don't really get that. And I get it. You know, you can't really be as mobile like on stage or in film, but you still have to emote. You have to convince people you're this person with just your voice and not using your whole body, which is a lot more difficult than people think. Um, but yeah, you have to, you know, learn the basics. Sign up for any classes that, if you want to specifically just go into voice acting, sign up for classes that help that, because you want to do all types. You want to do commercial VO, animation VO, anime VO. There's all different types, but like if you want to do this, go for all of them, because you want to be versatile. You want to be very versatile in this industry. You want to be used everywhere. Um, don't just stick to one thing, because that won't always pay the bills. You want to do a lot of other things. And it's a constant grind. Like as soon as you book one thing, you're like, all right, where's the next audition? Let me do this. So it's a ton of work, but if you're diligent and you're committed to this, don't give up. And it does get hard, especially when you audition for multiple things that you said you're hard on, but you don't book it. That is very discouraging, but you cannot let that ruin you. That's happened a couple times where I didn't get an audition that I absolutely wanted to so bad, and you see someone else get it and you're like, my heart, no, please. but but you can't let that deter you, because rejection will happen, but you have to just learn to dust yourself off and get back up, because it's always going to be a trek back up to your goals. So you just got to keep working at it.
When rejection is just kind of part of life, though I will say, if there ever was an industry where rejection was ever more prevalent, it would definitely be voice acting. So how do you deal with that? Because obviously, I mean, it's a necessary evil, but it is nonetheless an evil, and it can be, as you said, very discouraging. So how do you keep your spirits up? Because a lot of people watching are either people that are interested in voice acting or already in the field but haven't really gotten their big break. So how would you advise people when they inevitably do get rejected for a role that they've set their heart on? Kind of, how do you handle that sort of situation?
Whew. I when I get an audition, I try not to get emotionally attached to them because you want it so bad.
Mhm.
I struggle with that a lot, and it's very hard. But you have to. It's like you just have to just be in the moment with the character, and then let it go. As soon as you audition for it, just let it go. Whether you get it or not, you just have to let it happen. And if you don't get it, I think the best things to do is not dwell on it. Um, if it's like all over social media of someone else getting it, that's great. Good job for them, especially if they're your friend. That's awesome. But sometimes you may need to just take a break from it. Separate yourself from social media if that's all you're seeing, or if that's all that's making you worry. Separate yourself from seeing that and do something that you enjoy doing. Um, I mean, if it's still voice acting, then maybe like uh, dub a comic, or practice reading out loud, or if you like video games, play video games for a little bit. But it's okay to I don't want to say mourn an audition, because it's not really like your audition died. It's just, I'm not sure how to word it, but it's a it's a time, it's a point in time to give yourself space to separate yourself from that moment.
Mm.
And I think when you do that, you'll collect your thoughts and say, okay, I don't know why I didn't get picked for this role, but that's okay. It's not going to stop me from keeping on going and advancing. I just got to get better. Maybe ask if you have a mentor, an acting mentor. Say like, hey, I auditioned for this thing. Make sure if it's an NDA, don't ever mention it.
Sure.
Don't ever mention it to folks. Don't ever break an NDA. Talk to a mentor and say like, hey, what do you think I could work on? I didn't audition for this. I didn't get it. I'm just wondering, like, what do you think I can improve on? Asking for help from other people who've been in this industry longer, or someone you look up to that you think is a better actor than you. Try that. But just, separate yourself from that, because it will put you in a bad place. Oh my God, it will put you in such a bad place.
Well, speaking of NDAs, now hold on. If you're watching live via Facebook or watching this later on YouTube, calm down. I'm not asking her to divulge any industry secrets or anything. She is under contract not to talk about. I just kind of wanted to talk about NDAs themselves. How agonizing are NDAs sometimes? Like, I understand the necessity of them, but just like knowing that you have this big project or you've nailed this big role that you cannot tell anybody about, kind of how hard is that sometimes?
It is very, very hard. Super, super hard, because I remember for Kimono Friends, we recorded, I think, in July of 2018, and it didn't get released until in like November, December, I think, of 2018. It didn't get released until July of 2019. So I know there are a lot of things that have longer waits, but I'm just a very impatient person. The wait is so agonizing because you're so excited. You're like, guys, this thing is happening, and I'm excited for you to see it. And then especially when fans of the thing you're in keep talking about it, you're just like, it's so hard, but you don't want to ruin it for all the people that have worked so hard on it. And so that's what kind of helps me. Like, don't say anything, because you will ruin so much of people's work and your career will end.
Well, that's actually a really good point, because I personally never really considered that. I mean, NDAs, if you violate an NDA, that not only hurts you, but also hurts plenty of other people that you've worked with that kind of have worked just as hard as you. Now, before all this COVID stuff happened and we're all kind of just kind of stuck in our own houses under quarantine,
Yep.
Do you prefer doing ensemble voice acting, or do you prefer what you're doing now, where you're just kind of voice acting by yourself, kind of, secluded, and then all of them just kind of come together towards the end? Or do you like kind of working with other people in like a ensemble group setting when voice acting?
Oof. I actually like the ensemble group setting. Usually you record by yourself in the booth anyway, unless it's walla or background voices. Usually you have 4 people in a room, but mainly if you're recording for a character, it's you by yourself, but you'll have the engineer and the director on the other side of the booth. But I do miss that camaraderie, because you just make jokes with each other and you just, making faces or whatever. It's a very nice feeling, because especially having that visual confirmation of that you're doing a good job, it's like, yes, it's very comforting knowing that I'm doing my job right.
Well, so speaking about COVID, not necessarily COVID itself, but the fact that we're all here at home, kind of, stuck, do you find it easier to do your job, but kind of now that you not only don't have to leave your house, but are encouraged not to, do you find it easier to kind of either meet deadlines or just kind of do the job at home in your home studio? Or do you prefer doing it in the actual studio itself in a booth? And furthermore, after you answer that question, I'm also curious, do you think this is the perfect time for anybody who's interested in voice acting to kind of get into it now that we have all this free time? Or the fact that so many people have that free time, does that therefore make it harder to get into?
For the first part, I think it's easy for me personally. For me personally, I think when it comes to dubbing anime specifically, going to the studio is a lot easier, because, not everybody has the greatest internet connection, so it makes it difficult to kind of match the flaps when you're doing the audio. But for like animation projects or like any other things that does not have to do with dubbing, yes, it's great for at home in the booth, because it's just you and the director. You're recording your audio, and you don't have to, use a image for referencing or anything like that. Not image for referencing, but to dub anything. It makes it a lot easier. But for dubbing, I really wish we were back in the booth. For people who are trying to get into voice acting now, for the people who do not have acting experience, I would look up on YouTube, like basics of acting. Learn how to develop a character, learn how to develop a character's voice. I've heard people tell me, oh yeah, I could do a silly voice. I could do voice acting. I'm like, okay, can you cry in that voice? Can you laugh in that voice? Can you be angry in that voice? It's a lot more than what they expect. So I'd advise learning how to do the basics of acting. If you're already acting, try some websites that are doing like auditions for like original projects that they're making themselves, or just try practicing like reading a book. That helps too. Especially I have not terrible diction, but sometimes I talk fast and my words run together. So what I do for practice is I read a book and I try to read a whole page without messing up. And if I mess up, I start over. So that's actually a good way to practice. And if you do have a favorite book, try reading that. Like record yourself reading, doing different voices, doing different inflections. That will definitely help. The more, since we're stuck inside, preferably, I would suggest I'd suggest probably like I said, reading a book, or learning how to do character voices. If how consistent can you stay in that voice? Because that's another thing. Can you stand in a booth for 4 hours doing a voice for that long and maintaining it? It's very, very hard. And also practice breathing. That's important. I know this sounds weird, but make sure you're getting enough air whenever you are performing, because if you don't, you may pass out.
Well, and you mentioned, a lot of things that are kind of hard with being a voice actor or voice actress. Kind of, what are some of the things that you find hardest, both either in the industry or just like actually doing the job?
Oof. That's a good question.
Well, it has to be like taxing on your throat and voice,
Yeah.
especially during certain roles, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like for me personally, I don't have a real low range. So that's really hard for me, because it takes a lot more air out of me. And so I feel like I have to breathe like every 5 seconds, like, oh, I gotta do this voice. So it gets a little difficult. I feel like that kind of keeps me from certain things, which is fine. You just got to work on it. Also laughing, is a little hard for me, because my natural laugh is very loud and boisterous, and it's usually like all in one breath. But usually if you're trying to be like this cutesy little character and you're trying to laugh for like a minute straight, it's very hard, because it's like I have to put air back in me so I can keep laughing. And making it sound cute at the same time. Sometimes it's easy for people, but for me, it's the struggle. But I'm working on it.
Sure. And so you're laughing, angry, crying. You have all these things that I personally never even thought about in this character. It's not enough that you can voice the character. You also have to give them emotion, and of course, emotions come in all shapes and sizes. Is there any emotion that you have trouble kind of displaying for certain characters, or in contrast, any emotions that you find very easy to kind of convey with characters?
The ones I struggle with are the mean characters, people who are evil, because I like to not think I'm an evil person or like a mean person. Like I've never been a mean girl or whatever you want to call it. So whenever there's like a character who has to be sassy or has to be like rude, I'm like, how do I do that? It's like, okay, just channel, just like just think about how this person would be. Just imagine the situation, put yourself in their shoes. So I think, yeah, sassy, mean girlish, and just rude. That's very hard for me. But the easy ones, I like the happy-go-lucky, little sister, always look on the bright side characters. Those are my go-tos. I feel like I'm very confident and very good in those.
Sure. Well, before we continue, guys, I just want to reiterate a point. If you look into the live chat, if you're watching live on Facebook, we've got a bunch of links associated with Dani Chambers. And then if you're watching at home on YouTube, when this is posted later, they're going to be in the description below, and we'll get to those in a sec. But I would be remiss if I did not bring up your character in the latest movie of My Hero Academia. It's called Heroes Rising. You voice Mahoro. You want to talk about how you got that role, kind of what it meant to you, voicing that character, because it's a very fun character. When I watched that movie, I didn't think I'd love her as much as I did, but she's very fun. She's very sassy. I love her quirk as well. So I just kind of wanted to let you talk about her for a little bit.
Ooh, Mahoro. She is just a big ball of big sister sass. Like that's all she is. And I got the audition when I was house sitting for a friend, and I had my travel mic with me. And so I was like, I got this audition for the movie. I don't know if this audio is going to sound terrible. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm like, I just did it. I did it. And I sent it in, and I wasn't expecting to get anything. And then all of a sudden I got an email, hey, you booked this role for the movie. I was like, I like freaked out. I was like, this is so cool. I don't know how, but that's awesome. But yeah, Colleen said she loved my take on Mahoro, and I was like, yes. So it was a joy. And playing her, at first I didn't like her because like I'm a big sister too, but I'm not like as protective as she is. But then again, we don't have superpowers, and our mom didn't die. But sorry, spoilers.
You're fine.
I haven't seen it. Sorry. But I was like, she's just so mean. I guess she's trying to protect her brother, but why the sass? And then you understand why, and you're like, oh, my baby. Oh, I felt so sorry for her. But then like the one part towards the end where I don't want to say spoilers, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
I know
with her and her brother, and then it's like that moment where Katsuma has to, and I was like, oh, I like teared up. I was like, these babies are so precious. But
that movie definitely hit in a way that I was not expecting to be hit. So if you guys haven't already seen it, I highly recommend watching it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I got one more question before we go into the plug zone and then viewers' comments and questions, which speaking on that, if you haven't already submitted a question or comment to Dani Chambers for me to read off, you have two ways of doing that. You can message Visioncon, which plenty of you have already done. We have opened up that opportunity just for convenience for people. Or if you haven't done that, you can also do it in the live chat as well. And I'm going to try to bounce them out 50-50. But my last question, Dani Chambers, is let us pretend that I am the physical embodiment of everybody watching at home, both either in the live chat or on YouTube, who are interested in voice acting and have already, taken acting classes and I'm ready to conquer the world. But what do I do from here, Dani?
Audition.
Keep
auditioning as much as you can, because the right person will hear you and they will book you for that role, and then it'll just keep going from there. Because if you don't audition, you're not going to book work. Keep taking classes too, because there are some directors who will see your talent, give you advice on how to clean up your acting skills, or give you advice on how to improve on certain things. Then you'll get noticed. Not saying noticed, but people will check you out, see what you're all about. Also, social media marketing. You want to market yourself in a very professional manner. So like, work on your website, get your demos. How have I not talked about demos? Get a professional demo done. Don't do it yourself. If you are not an engineer or have no experience in audio, get it done. They are kind of expensive depending on where you go, but they'll work with you, get a payment plan set up, but get a demo. And if you want to have an agent, do your research on which agency you want. That way you can figure out how that works, and your agents will work with you. They'll let you know like what you need to work on, or they will sometimes guide you to the workshops that you would probably need to take. they are a good resource and a good helpful uh, agency that will want to get you where you need to go, because if you succeed, they succeed. So they want to help you along. So demos, market yourself, get an agent if you want to.
Now, how soon would I need to kind of, spend the money to get all of the best equipment? And do I need to get the best equipment starting out, or can I use equipment that's serviceable but also kind of in my budget? Or is kind of getting the best equipment a priority for getting into voice acting?
In my opinion, no. What you need first is a good sound treated area, because you can have the best mic, the best interface, the best, audio editing software, but if your place sounds like poop, you're not going to book anything. So I'd advise sound treating your space. Get foam, get blankets, comforters, specifically thick ones, and like line it around. Like this stuff you can find on Amazon, or wherever. Sound treat your space first where you're going to record, and then you can have like serviceable equipment. You don't need to break the bank. You just need a good interface, a good XLR microphone, and do your research on it, because there are different types and you need to find one that will fit your voice. I think there's some stores, if they're open, that will let you test these mics to see what sounds better for your voice. But yeah, when you're starting out, do not break the bank trying to get the best microphone. Like once you start booking more stuff and you feel like you need an upgrade, then you can. But yeah, don't break the bank for that when you start out.
Sure, I mean, that makes sense. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, now is your last chance to either message Visioncon your question/comment for Dani Chambers, or comment it in the live chat on Facebook, because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the plug zone. Dani Chambers, now is your chance to promote, advertise, plug, whatever verb you want to use, anything you want. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dani Chambers. You can check me out at that's not my website, at DaniDChambers.com. I almost at the Funimation website for some reason. And you can follow me on Instagram at Dani D Chambers, Twitter at SkinnyMini07, and I think that's it. I don't have a TikTok. I'm not gonna get a TikTok. I'm sorry. So please don't ask me to get a TikTok.
You are fine. And all of those links are in the live chat if you're watching live, or if you're watching later on YouTube, it's down in the description below. All right, and we're out of the plug zone and officially into viewers' comments and questions. So I'm first going to read off some of the ones that we got messaged to the Visioncon directly. So give me just 1 sec to pull that up, guys. And Marissa Pence, my fellow worker at Visioncon, is monitoring the chat and compiling them all together. Thank you, Marissa. As always, you're the wind beneath my sails, Marissa. All right, now Shelby wrote in and wanted to know if there's any character that you have voiced, which one would you think you'd be best friends with?
Ooh. Oh, that's so hard. I think it's a tie between Serval and Aya. Aya's from After School Dice Club, because she is literally me. I think when it comes to like playing board games with friends and stuff and how she is, I'm like, I love her. I love her so much. But Serval is my cute dumb cat, and I think I'd probably have more fun with her because we would just have adventures everywhere. So yeah, I'd probably have to go with Serval. I think we'd be best friends.
Fair. All right, Marissa, actually, speaking of Marissa, wanted to come in and say, and this is a bit of a deeper question, as a fellow female, she was wondering if you feel that females have a harder time in the industry than male counterparts, or has the VO industry kind of moved beyond those constraints?
I actually think it just depends on the project. Anime, I think I think anime is somewhat split in some areas, because you got your, what is it, shonen animes where it's all fighting, so a lot of the guys do those, and then you have your romance animes, which a lot of the women do those, but a lot of women do a lot of the younger voices for the boys, so that's more opportunities for them as well. But I think Oh, yeah. I think it's kind of split when it comes to anime. With animation, I'm not in that as much. I feel like to give my opinion about that. Um, but I mean, it'd be cool to see a lot more female animations. That'd be cool. I'd love to see that. like another. Oh God, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head, but like another Sailor Moon or like another Avatar or something.
Yeah,
Even though we have Korra, but yeah,
centric protagonists.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Dakota wrote in, and he wanted to know what are some remedies that you have after doing so like a multi-hour shift of voice acting. Kind of, do you like, for instance, I'm expanding on this a little bit, Dakota, but do you drink hot tea or kind of massage your throat in any way? Are there any kind of tips you can give on that?
Yes, hot tea. That's like a pretty much go-to. Don't use sugar, honey. Honey is what you need to use because that is good on the throat. Hot tea. There, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like this. It's a Chinese syrup that coats your throat, and that I swear by it. That thing will cure any sore throat that I've had, and I'm like, how is this possible? But it's really good. I can't remember the name of it. It's like I don't want to say it because I don't want to mess it up.
Sure.
But it's like throat syrup. If you type it in Amazon, I'm pretty sure it'll come up. You'll
Google
see
or Amazon, I'm sure.
Yeah. You see hot tea, the syrup, vocal rest. Especially for like if My Hero Academia where they're yelling during their battles. Like Cliff. Oh my God. That man. I have so much respect for him just because of playing Angry Boy. And it's like after he recorded the movie, he uploaded a video of him and talking, and he sounded so raspy. And I'm like, whoo. So I bet he was on vocal rest for like the rest of the day. Whereas you just don't talk for a long period of time.
He voices Bakugo, everybody watching. If you
I'm
didn't
sorry.
know that. But Angry Boy was a good one as well. All right, Karen wrote in and wanted to know, there's a lot of different nerd subcultures, example, gaming, comics, movies, etc. Which ones inspire you the most in your works?
Ooh, that is a good question. What inspires me? Probably gaming. I feel like I can relate and be more emotionally invested in games. Like I just started playing Horizon. Oh my goodness, that game is fantastic. And then like God of War. What else? There's a game that has no voice acting. But it's called Journey, I think.
Yeah.
And there's two little spirits in the sand.
My favorite indie game. Yeah.
God, it's so good. But just I like being emotionally invested into games that actually have me care about these characters, and I don't want them to die. Like my favorite game ever is Paper Mario for the N64.
Yeah.
Because it's such a cute little goofy thing, and when I was younger, that was the first game I was like emotionally invested in. And then because you want to say Princess Peach, but then you meet all these cool characters, and you're like, oh, I want to help you. Oh no, the Shy Guys are attacking you. Let me go get your frying pan. It's just little things like that. And I'm like, this is so cute. And then I think Chrono Trigger. Have you heard of Chrono Trigger?
Oh yeah, I played it back in the day on my PlayStation 1.
I didn't, but it was years later I found like a Let's Play on it, and I'm like, what is this game? This game is fantastic. And I played it, and I'm like, I love this so much. It's such a really, really, really good game. Very long, but it's so worth it. It feels like a Final Fantasy game because it's not, but it's really good.
It was released around the same time that Final Fantasy kind of made a name for itself here in the West. But it's also the first part of the series. The second part is Chrono Cross, but that's not it. I got two more questions, then we'll wrap this up, guys. Oh, and also Marissa got our backs and said she believes you mean, and I'm gonna butcher this, guys, but it's Nin Geom herbal cough syrup.
Yes, that stuff.
Okay. All right, yeah.
Yes.
Chris Edgerly a voice actor that we had on previously also swears by that stuff. So if you guys aren't voice acting or just prone to sore throats, get you some.
Yes.
All right, so Aaron wrote in and wanted to know, what's your, okay, I'm going to give you 2 options because Aaron, if you're watching right now, I love you, but you're notorious for complicated questions. So I'm going to give you 2. You can either answer both or pick one. Okay. Aaron says, number 1, what's your favorite Card Captors clear card that you've been in? Or, speaking of games, if you were in Kingdom Hearts, what's your favorite Disney movie shown in series that you would want to travel to and why?
Ooh, I'll probably answer
Aaron,
the second one. Probably the second one.
What?
On a Kingdom Hearts, what's my favorite Disney movie shown in the series? Ooh, that's hard. Gosh, I'm like trying to go through all of them. Like, does that include Kingdom Hearts 3? Okay, probably The Kingdom of Corona with Tangled.
Yeah.
That's a really, really, really good movie. I think it's one of Disney's best animated films ever, just because of the way it's told and the characters of it. Like, I'm one of those people who thinks that Tangled is better than Frozen. I know I'll probably get like hate for that, but
they'll have to get through me first because I agree with you.
Okay, yes, thank you. it's so, I feel like it's much more like Frozen's good, yes, but Tangled, like, dude, so much stuff that she went through, and then her crazy mom. But oh my god, just go watch Tangled, please. But yeah, no, if any Kingdom Hearts level, probably the Kingdom of Corona.
Solid one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we've got for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 12 of Visioncon Live. Before we wrap things up, Dani Chambers, any final thoughts?
Thank you guys so very much for watching. Thank you, Zach, for having me on. It was truly a pleasure, and I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope to see you soon if you were going to be a voice actor. I don't know. I was trying to say something real cool. It didn't work.
You're fine, guys. Make sure you guys follow Dani on social media. Links are both in the live chat or down below if you're watching on YouTube. Same with the website. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 12 of VisionCon Live. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for episode 13 with the one and only Wally Wingert, voice of Renji from Bleach, the Riddler from the Batman Arkham series, Alex from Madagascar, just to name a few. But until next time, my name's Zach Wilson, and much more importantly, this has been my special guest, Dani Chambers. You guys have a great rest of your day, and always remember, life's better when you have friends to share them with.